Welcome back, everyone. I hope you found our first session useful in framing what we mean by distance education as a strategic driver of internationalization. In this second part of our training, we're going to move from the general framework to something more concrete, a real-world case study. We'll look at UNED, my university, the Universidad Nacional de Educación a Distancia, and explore how an institution built on distance learning has approached internationalization over the past decades. This is not meant to be a model you should copy exactly. Every institution has its own context, history, strengths, and challenges. But I hope that by seeing how UNED has navigated this journey, you'll gain some practical insights and ideas that could be useful for your institution and own planning. So, who is UNED? Let me give you some context. UNED was founded more than 50 years ago with a very clear and powerful mission: to universalize access to quality higher education through distance and blended learning models. From the beginning, UNED was designed to reach people who couldn't attend traditional universities, people living in rural areas, working adults, those with family responsibilities, people facing economic barriers, or anyone who needed flexibility to study. Today, UNED is Spain's largest public university. We serve over 150,000 students enrolled in official degree programs, from undergraduate all the way to doctoral level. Our alumni network exceeds 3 million individuals worldwide, people who have built successful careers in Spain, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and beyond. But here's what makes UNED particularly interesting as a case study for internationalization. We combine digital delivery with an extensive physical presence. We operate more than 100 study centers distributed across Spain, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. This includes 14 full centers abroad and 10 examination centers in additional countries. This hybrid approach, digital at the core, but with strategic physical touchpoints, allows us to maintain close ties with diverse international communities, while remaining fundamentally a distance education institution. Now, every university pursues internationalization, but not always for the same reasons or in the same way. So let me share UNED's particular approach, because I think the why matters as much as the how. UNED's approach to internationalization is grounded in an explicit set of values. Rather than pursuing internationalization primarily for reputation or competition, though those can be positive outcomes, UNED has adopted what we call an academic-focused model that emphasizes social responsibility, cooperation, and mutual benefit. We understand internationalization as a means to improve quality, expand access, and strengthen our contribution to global educational development. This model is built on principles of transparency, collaboration, and equity. UNED actively seeks partnerships that generate real academic value and contribute to the public good, particularly in contexts where access to quality higher education is limited. This is especially true for our work in Latin America and Africa, regions where we have deep historical, linguistic, and cultural ties. We've also maintained a continuous commitment to strategic planning in this area since 2002. We work with multi-year internationalization strategies and annual action plans that align institutional resources with clear international priorities. This isn't something we do casually. It's embedded in how we operate as a university. To make internationalization work at scale, you need structure. You need clear responsibilities, coordination mechanisms, and resources. Let me show you how UNED has organized itself. At the highest level, we have the Vice-Rectorate for Internationalization and Multilingualism, which coordinates policy and provides strategic leadership across 4 main areas: internationalization, international mobility, multilingualism, and university development cooperation. Supporting this, a technical office, where I work, manages agreements, projects, mobility schemes, and cooperation initiatives on a daily basis. This office also maintains close contact with UNED centers abroad and examination sites, which act as bridges to local communities. Importantly, international work does not stay only at the center. Faculties and schools have their own international coordinators or units, which help embed international perspectives into programs and support students and teachers who want to participate in collaborations. This shared responsibility makes it easier to connect distance education practices with international objectives in concrete courses and activities. Now, let's look at the concrete instruments UNED uses to implement its internationalization strategy. I'll walk you through several. starting with one of the most significant, our participation in the Erasmus Plus program. Over the last decade alone, UNED has been involved in more than 150 Erasmus Plus projects, securing approximately €5 million in European funding. These projects span a wide range of themes: educational innovation, digital transformation, inclusive education, and more recently, the application of generative artificial intelligence in teaching and learning. Currently, our office manages 47 active international projects, and UNED is engaged in 44 new project proposals in the current Erasmus Plus call. This is significant work that involves hundreds of colleagues across the university and creates opportunities for collaboration, funding, innovation, and visibility. Why does this matter? Because participating in international projects forces you to think differently. You have to articulate your pedagogical approach, justify your choices, coordinate with partners who have different systems and cultures, and deliver results that meet rigorous European standards. This continuous engagement strengthens the institution's capacity and brings fresh ideas and practices back into our classrooms. A second key instrument is UNED's extensive network of international agreements. The university has established over 400 active agreements with institutions and organizations worldwide. These agreements are not just pieces of paper. They provide a flexible foundation for collaboration in teaching, research, student and staff exchange, joint degree programs, and technical cooperation. They allow UNED to engage with partners in ways that are adapted to local contexts and institutional priorities, fostering long-term relationships rather than one-off activities. Some of these agreements are framework agreements that simply establish goodwill and open the door for future collaboration. Others are very specific: joint master's programs, co-tutored PhDs, shared research centers, or technical assistance projects. The key is that these agreements create a web of relationships. Over time, they build trust, facilitate communication, and make collaboration easier. When a new opportunity arises, we already have established partners we can reach out to quickly. Mobility is another central pillar of UNED's internationalization strategy, and this is where our distance education model really shows its flexibility. Let's look briefly at mobility, because this is often seen as the most visible face of internationalization. Even as a distance education institution, UNED maintains physical mobility options. Students and staff can take part in exchanges, blended intensive programs, short research stays, and other on-site experiences at partner universities. These opportunities remain valuable and attractive, but distance education allows the institution to offer more flexible formats as well: fully online collaborative courses with partner universities, virtual exchanges where students from different countries work together on shared tasks, blended schemes combining short in-person meetings with longer periods of online teamwork. These formats are particularly important for those who cannot travel easily. They make it possible for a much wider range of students to experience international collaboration and intercultural learning from wherever they are located. The point is, we offer a spectrum of mobility options, and students and staff can choose what works best for their circumstances. UNED has used its distance education expertise to offer massive open online courses, or MOOCs, as a tool for international outreach. These online courses have reached hundreds of thousands of learners worldwide and help us both experiment with new teaching approaches and connect with potential students and partners. Language learning is also strategic. Our Distance Language Learning Center supports thousands of students each year to develop the language skills they need for international study and work. Because multilingualism is not only a skill, but a doorway to intercultural understanding and collaboration. UNED also hosts several UNESCO chairs, which act as platforms for teaching, research, and policy dialogue on topics such as sustainable development, human rights, and cultural diversity, linking us to global expert networks. Finally, the university is an active member of major international associations of distance and higher education institutions. Through these networks, we stay involved in broader discussions about the future of higher education and can contribute to shaping policy at regional and global levels. One of the most ambitious expressions of UNED's internationalization through distance education is our leadership role in the Open EU Alliance. Open EU is a European university alliance, an initiative supported by the European Commission to foster deep, long-term cooperation among higher education institutions across Europe. Open EU brings together leading open and distance universities with the explicit mission of creating Europe's largest and most inclusive distance education campus. Together, we're working to develop joint programs, shared virtual learning environments, coordinated quality assurance systems, and flexible pathways that allow students to combine courses and credits from multiple institutions across the alliance. For UNED, Open EU represents a strategic opportunity to amplify our international impact, to learn from and contribute to a community of institutions with similar missions, and to position distance education as a central pillar of the European higher education landscape. Now, I'd like to highlight an area that is very close to our mission: university development cooperation. UNED has taken part in many cooperation projects in different countries, especially in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, focusing on strengthening partners' capacity in teaching, research, and digital education. These initiatives are closely linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly those on quality education, gender equality, reducing inequalities, and building strong partnerships. In practice, this means working side by side with other universities to design, deliver, and assure the quality of their own distance and online programs, sharing expertise through co-design and mutual learning rather than exporting a fixed model. There is growing international interest in this kind of support, as more systems realize that good online and blended learning needs more than platforms. It also needs sound pedagogy, quality assurance, and supportive institutional frameworks. Let's look briefly at digital transformation, because none of this would work without solid technology behind it. UNED's virtual platforms support more than 200,000 students each year in formal and non-formal programs, creating a truly global learning environment. Thousands of these learners connect from Latin America and other regions, studying fully online while accessing the same academic services as students in Spain. We have invested in tools such as artificial intelligence and learning analytics to make learning more adaptive, so that content, rhythm, and support can be better aligned with each student's needs, wherever they are. We are also enriching the overall student experience with interactive platforms, varied digital materials, virtual communities, and networking opportunities that link students, alumni, and staff across countries. These technologies do much more than host courses. They make new forms of collaboration possible. Teachers can co-teach with colleagues abroad. Students can work together in international teams, and our systems can handle cross-border enrollment, recognition of credits, and certification. In short, this digital infrastructure is what allows UNED's internationalization model to grow and remain sustainable. Without it, operating at this scale would be really difficult. So, after all this work, building structures, developing partnerships, managing projects, what has UNED actually achieved? Let me share some concrete results at different levels. For the institution itself, UNED has gained greater international visibility and is now regularly invited to advise governments and lead collaborative projects. This opens doors to funding, new partnerships, and policy influence. Internationalization has also improved our teaching quality. Working with diverse partners pushes us to refine our methods and test new ideas. And we've built lasting alliances based on shared values, not just short-term transactions. But perhaps most important, we've succeeded in democratizing access to international opportunities. Through virtual and blended formats, thousands of learners who could never have studied abroad have gained intercultural skills, global perspectives, and international connections. This is what inclusion looks like in practice. But institutions don't benefit, people do. So let's talk about what internationalization through distance education has meant for UNED's academic community. For students, more inclusive and flexible international opportunities. Distance education allows UNED to offer physical, virtual, and blended mobility options. This combination democratizes internationalization, reaching students who cannot travel due to work, family, economic, or health constraints. Through MOOCs, virtual mobility, and online programs, UNED students can interact with peers from Latin America, Africa, Asia, and Europe, and benefit from international content and perspectives without leaving their local context. For academic staff, expanded opportunities for teaching and research collaboration, participation in Erasmus Plus projects, COIL initiatives, blended intensive programs, and international networks creates opportunities to co-design courses, share methodologies, and engage in joint research with partners worldwide. This isn't just professionally rewarding, it directly improves the quality of teaching and research. For academic and administrative staff, professional development, managing international projects, mobility programs in different formats, centers abroad, and multilingual services, develops new skills in intercultural communication, project management, digital pedagogy, and international governance. People grow through this work. For the wider community, contribution to equity and the Sustainable Development Goals. Programs like Women for Africa and our Latin American projects on equal access for underrepresented populations show how UNED's distance education expertise can be used to promote gender equality, reduce inequalities, and strengthen partner institutions, directly contributing to the global development agenda. We have shared many examples from UNED. The key question now is, what can you take from this experience and apply in your own context? In the next step, you will work on a reflective exercise about your institution and your national higher education system. The goal is to analyze how distance education can support internationalization in your reality, identifying main advantages and challenges. The exercise is organized in 2 sections. Section A, Advantages, Institutional Benefits, Visibility, Alliances, Projects, Reach, Benefits for the academic community, students, teachers, staff, and system-level benefits, quality, equity, regional development, digital capacity. Section B, Challenges, Pedagogical and quality issues, organizational and regulatory questions, and infrastructure and equity concerns, including the digital divide and financial sustainability. The ideas we have discussed, both in the general framework and in the UNED case, are there to guide you, but the analysis must be specific to your institution, your students, and your context. There is no one-size-fits-all model. What works for UNED in Spain may not work in the same way in Georgian universities. Some ideas may be directly useful, others will need to be adapted, and this will depend on the diagnosis you make of your own institutions, their specific characteristics, and the context in which they operate, with its particular opportunities and challenges. We look forward to receiving your exercises, which you can upload through the course platform, and we will be happy to respond to any questions or comments you post in the forum. We have shared many examples from UNED. The key question now is, what can you take from this experience and apply in your own context? In the next step, you will work on a reflective exercise about your institution and your national higher education system. The goal is to analyze how distance education can support internationalization in your reality, identifying main advantages and challenges. The exercise is organized in 2 sections. Section A, Advantages, Institutional Benefits, Visibility, Alliances, Projects, Reach, Benefits for the academic community, students, teachers, staff, and system-level benefits, quality, equity, regional development, digital capacity. Section B, Challenges, Pedagogical and quality issues, organizational and regulatory questions, and infrastructure and equity concerns, including the digital divide and financial sustainability. The ideas we have discussed, both in the general framework and in the UNED case, are there to guide you, but the analysis must be specific to your institution, your students, and your context. There is no one-size-fits-all model. What works for UNED in Spain may not work in the same way in Georgian universities. Some ideas may be directly useful, others will need to be adapted, and this will depend on the diagnosis you make of your own institutions, their specific characteristics, and the context in which they operate, with its particular opportunities and challenges. We look forward to receiving your exercises, which you can upload through the course platform, and we will be happy to respond to any questions or comments you post in the forum.